Hello and welcome to a horribly nerdy podcast. The podcast that's so bad, horrible is in its name. Thank you all so much for tuning into episode season 2, that was horrible. Thank you all so much for tuning into season 2, episode 1. Boy, this one's starting off great, ain't it? Bear with me. This episode is a bit janky. I did my best to clean it up. I was having some full-on just brain farts and amnesia and dementia and Alzheimer's. Like, I just could not speak English during this week's episode. And what really sucks is that I recorded these all different days, all different times, in different segments, and they all turned out that way. So, bear with me. Don't kill me. Oh, this is going to be a doozy of an episode, I think. So today we're going to be talking a bit of retro video games about a very famous ape, a movie about some psycho killers, and with a different twist to it, and a movie I enjoy that I think gets hated on way too much. A 13th Child, and we have a new comic book of the week, and a special new segment that we're introducing at the end of the episode. So, let me know what you think of this week's episode, let me know what you think of the new segments, and give me some feedback. What are you guys liking with this new format? What aren't you liking? What do you want to hear about? I do love to hear feedback. I love to hear some suggestions. If you have any ideas for me, the Patreon is launched. It's kind of bare bones right now, but you do get early access to episodes, and there is a tier where you can request a movie review from me, as long as it is easily attainable, and that is patreon.com/horribly nerdy if you are interested in joining. And everyone that does join will eventually get free stickers, a shout out on the podcast, and my eternal love and gratitude. And that's worth it just for that alone.
It's time for retro video game reviews.
Our retro video game review of the week is Donkey Kong Country for the Super Nintendo, where you play as either Donkey Kong or his nephew Diddy Kong. King K. Rool has stolen all of your bananas and you must get them back, fighting his gremlings and a variety of bosses. You also are able to ride and take control of certain animals that also have badass bonus levels where you go through and you collect little gold icons of the animals you happen to be riding, and that will give you lives and stuff like that, which if you're not as good at the game as professionals are, I guess I should say, because I'll tell you what, when I first played this game, it took me a long time to become good at this game, and I haven't played it in years, so I'm probably still not that good, but man, I needed life after life after life. But I'll tell you what, you want to talk about a fun, visually styling, amazing soundtrack, super, just fun. This was a lot of fun. I remember hours and hours of playing that, playing its sequel, Donkey Kong Country 2. This is a super fun game. It's a platform game. There's really cool levels, like the mine shaft levels, where you literally are riding in a mining cart and you have to jump from track to track. There are certain collectibles you can get that will either give you, more lives or more points and all that. And it's just super fun. And one thing that's really, really cool
about this is the soundtracks, especially like the underwater levels and stuff like that. The sound and music to these levels are amazing, and there's over 40 levels, and each one is unique in its own way, and they're super fun. They just get in your head and stay there for years. It's one of those soundtracks where you can kind of just, even just the soundtrack alone, you can kind of just sit back and listen to. I highly recommend this game, especially for like an early platforming game, a la like Super Mario Brothers and stuff like that, or Super Mario World, I should say. They really knocked it out of the park on this one. Instead of going back to the old Donkey Kong format where you play as Mario and you have to rescue the princess by just, basically going up and down, they decided to completely retool it and give Donkey Kong his own storyline, make him a hero, and they pretty much brought back that franchise, because unfortunately after the failed attempt of Donkey Kong 3, I think it was in 1985 is when that came out. It was very unsuccessful, and it lay dormant for a while until 1994 when Donkey Kong Country came out and just revitalized that franchise, leading to 2 sequels in Donkey Kong 64 and much more, and of course Donkey Kong being featured in Super Smash Brothers and other games. Check this game out. If you're unable to come up with a Super Nintendo, I know they have those what are they called, those the remand ones, the ones that are basically you plug and play, and they have all the stuff that's downloaded on free. I think Donkey Kong Country is on there. If you're unable to find that, I'll tell you what, find an emulator, hunt down a regular Super Nintendo or something. I highly recommend playing this game. And if unfortunately you cannot do that, check it out on YouTube. There are plenty of playthroughs that are worth watching. I still have my Super Nintendo. Unfortunately, I don't have a way to hook it up to my my modern day HD TV. I'm still trying to figure out how to do that. I think Limited Run Games, they at one point had HDMI to like older console connections and stuff, and I might have to look into that. But I still, every once in a while, when I'm in the mood for especially that soundtrack, I'll pop it on YouTube and I'll definitely chill out and check it out. Highly recommended. I can't say that more enough. It's super fun. Even the sequel, Diddy's Conquest, or shoot, I can't remember what it's called, but I enjoy that game too, where you play as Diddy and I believe another cousin, Dee Ditsy, I don't remember. I like the sequel. I of course play Diddy all the time. There was a third one. I never did get into that one. And Donkey Kong 64 I did get into. That was pretty fun too. Anyways, I'm rambling on, so I'm going to leave it here. Donkey Kong Country. Check it out. 5 bananas out of 5. Hey, Future Chris here. I just wanted to add, I did do some research, and I found that you can find all 3 Donkey Kong Country games for Switch. So if you have a Switch, those are downloadable. I do not have a Switch. I would like to get one. Maybe eventually I'll get one and replay those games. But yeah, I just wanted to chime in here and say that if you do have a Switch and you want to check those games out, you can find them on that.
I present to you a horribly nerdy movie review. Our movie of the week is a 2012 horror film directed by Ryu Kitamura of Midnight Meat Train fame called No One Lives. If I tell you the synopsis, it's pretty much going to spoil the whole thing, and well, there's going to be some mild spoilers coming up right now, but I'm going to kind of give you a little bit of a rundown of it. I won't go into too much detail, but this is basically what the film is all about. We open up on a news story about a young woman named Emma who is missing, presumed kidnapped. We then cut to a lovely couple by the name of Driver and Tamara who run afoul, apparently, of some backwoods robbers, especially one that ends up being embarrassed by Driver. in order to kind of save face and get back at him, he ends up kidnapping Tamara and stealing their car, which is a no-no, not a good idea. Here's why. Driver tracks them down to like this auto shop where a few of the I guess gang members, whatever you want to call them, are. And we find out that when they pop the trunk, they find Emma is in the trunk of the happy couple's car. And then we find out that Tamara is another victim. She actually has Stockholm Syndrome. And apparently Driver is head over heels in love with her. She has had enough because she's being held hostage by knife point and ends up slitting her own throat. She has had enough. She can't do it anymore. And we come to find out from Emma later on that Tamara was the only one that could keep Driver in check. So now we know Driver is a psychotic serial killer who likes to hunt down his prey. And now he's getting his revenge on all these gang members, robbers, whatever you want to call them, because the one victim he was in love with, of course, is now dead. Featuring a decent cast, Luke Evans as Driver. I like Luke Evans as Driver, and I like Luke Evans, and he does a really good job in this film. Adelaide Clemens is Emma Ward, and then you've got Derek Mager, Lee Turgensen, America Olivio, and more. You even have professional wrestler Brodus Clay in a small role, but ends up kind of being a linchpin to the plot. Unfortunately, that's the only trivia because there isn't much about this film I could find as far as behind the scenes info or even just little bits of trivia. There isn't much. One thing I can say is this movie gets a lot of hate for some reason. I don't quite understand it. I enjoy this movie quite a bit. I think it's fun. It's gory. There are some pretty decent kills in it, like one where they pretty much feed a guy into a wood chipper or wood chipper like device, which I thought was really, really funny and really, really graphic and really, really cool. And I definitely recommend this film. Right now on IMDb, it's currently sitting at a 6 out of 10, which is okay. I guess passing grade, which I would give it a little bit more than that personally. I personally give it 4 crossbows out of 5. And when you see what happens with that crossbow, you'll understand why I use crossbows as my little scale here. Yeah, I don't understand the hate for this film. I think it's pretty good. I enjoy it. I think there's some really good kills. There's a lot of decent gore out of it. And I think the really interesting part of how our Driver, our serial killer, gets from the body shop or auto shop to the hideout of the thieves. I think that's pretty clever, ingenious, and I'm not going to spoil how because I definitely recommend you check out the film in order to see that scene alone, or hell, even YouTube it, because I think that's just an interesting scene and pretty clever and imaginative. This is almost always streaming somewhere. I think it's on IMDb TV right now. It might even be on Tubi. It's normally on one of the streaming sites somewhere. I always seem to find it for free somewhere on one of the streaming sites. If you don't want to like go out and actively search for it, you might just come across it. I believe Tubi has it right now too. I check it out. If you do end up checking it out, let me know what you think. Or if you have seen it, let me know what you think. I think it gets a lot of shit and hate that it doesn't deserve. I think it's underrated. I do wish they would make a sequel to it, but unfortunately it's been almost 10 years now, so I kind of doubt it. But yeah, that's just my thoughts. Yeah, let me know what you think. Check it out. No One Lives by Ryu Kanamura.
Mother Leeds, the supposed mistress of a British soldier who was suspected of being a witch. Upon hearing that she was pregnant with her 13th child, she cursed it and said, "Let it be a devil child." And thus the Jersey Devil was born. A creature with a snake-like tail, bat wings, and a head that resembles a horse. The Jersey Devil has been ruling the Pine Barrens since the early 1700s. Now, according to HistoryCollection.com, that rumor was started by none other than Benjamin Franklin himself, because the Leeds family was in direct competition to the Franklin Almanac. So he figured if he started rumors about the Leeds family, well, their reputation would be ruined, and supposedly, well, that's exactly what happened. Now, there have been countless sightings of the Jersey Devil. I worked with someone who swears and claims that there were one night when she was a child, she was laying in her bed and she heard something outside of her window, and she happened to just open the curtains and see this thing. She said it looked more like a human, but she said it clearly wasn't a human, but was more humanoid than anything. And it literally was just sitting outside of her window, just chilling. Apparently it looked at her, but it didn't do anything. It just kind of looked at her, looked away. And she said that she just closed the curtains, went back to bed. And then the next morning she told her father about it, and he climbed up to her window and found, apparently where the roof level's off, there were scratches there. So, I don't know. It's just a story. A coworker of mine told me a long time ago, but I have a hard time believing if you're a child and you look outside the window and you see something like that, you're not gonna panic, you're not gonna scream. I don't know. Personally, I think I would have shit my pants, but hey, to each their own. But here are some sightings collected from HistoryCollection.com of some of the earlier Jersey Devil sightings. In 1840, the Jersey Devil ate farmers' sheep. Between the years 1840 to 1844, farmers reported hearing an otherworldly scream and screeching noise. When they went outside the next morning, their sheep were either slaughtered or completely missing. It would seem to be more logical if wolves, dogs, or coyotes attacked these sheep, but the farmers apparently thought there was no logical explanation for these killings unless it was the Jersey Devil. A posse of men gathered to kill the beast that was eating all of the livestock, but they never found what was responsible for killing it. These stories are not all unto common, are not... These stories are not too uncommon in a lot of American folklore, with mysterious creatures, from werewolves to aliens to Mothman and more. While this is a bit of a stretch, it is most likely that it was coyotes or it was werewolves. 100% werewolves. It was either coyotes or wolves, or even just a pack of wild dogs. Supposedly in 1883, the Jersey Devil was on display in the Arch Museum in Philadelphia. Just like P.T. Barnum's Museum of Curiosities and Ripley's Believe It or Not in Atlantic City, the Arch Museum in Philadelphia specialized in displaying hoaxes. It spread posters around the town claiming that they had captured the Jersey Devil and that it was on display at their museum. They actually took a curiosity they once called the Australian vampire, which in reality was just a taxidermy abomination. It was really the body of a kangaroo with wings attached, and they rebranded it into the Jersey Devil. Interesting. Actually, you can find a lot of drawings that look very similar to that. It looks exactly like a kangaroo, but the head is a little bit misshapen. It has these short bent arms and wings attached to it, and it's very common for people to report something like that. In 1909, the Navy started a mass panic in the Pine Barrens. In 1909, members of the Navy were running drills at the Hanover Mill Works in the New Jersey Pine Barrens. A Navy commander named Stephen Decatur claimed that they were practicing shooting cannons when they spotted the Jersey Devil in the distance. They even claimed that they shot the creature with a cannonball, and according to witnesses, they saw the cannonball come in direct contact with the devil, and yet it was still alive. When this story got out, people had no choice but to believe it must be true, because it was coming from Navy officials. The public even went into a deep state of panic. Over 1,000 people contacted the police claiming that they saw the Jersey Devil. School was canceled in the town surrounding the Pine Barrens. In 1927, a cab driver got a flat tire in the middle of the night in Salem City, New Jersey. Years before electric streetlight, the street would have been extremely dark and the woods of the Pine Barrens were surrounding him. He got out of the car to change his tire, but he got out of his car to change the tire. But the terrifying creature emerged from the woods and tried to attack him, screeching and screaming. The driver got back into the car, but the Jersey Devil was pounding on the roof of the car as if it was trying to get inside. In 1972, in southern New Jersey, Green Tree Road. In 1972, in southern New Jersey, Green Tree Road is a very long street that runs through several towns. A woman named Mary Ritzer Christensen was leaving the town of Blackwood and heading towards Glassboro when she spotted a creature crossing the street in her rearview mirror. The animal was roughly about 25 feet away from the back of her car. It had the head of a horse, woolly haunches like a goat, but it stood upright like a man and spread a set of leathery wings. She slammed her foot on the acceleration and got out of Dodge. The Wharton State Forest is smack dab in the middle of the Pine Barrens, and it contains the Wharton State Forest is smack dab in the middle of the Pine Barrens, and it contains the Batstow Village, which has been intact since the 1700s. In 1980, the chief forest ranger named Alan McFarland was called out to a South Jersey farm near the Wharton State Forest. The entire pack of the farmer's pigs had been brutally slaughtered in the middle of the night. The back of each pig's head had been eaten, as if something perched on their backs and ate their brains. Their backs were scratched, but whatever killed the pigs left the rest of the body alone and moved on to the next animal in the attack. Chief McFarland had never seen anything like it. Bikers hear screams of the devil in the night and Jesus Christ. Bikers hear screams of the devil in the 1980s. Riding dirt bikes and ATVs is a popular hobby in New Jersey, especially in and around the Pine Barrens. A group of young men, Wow, this is a really terrible sentence. A group of young men were camping in the middle of the woods and riding their bikes through the dirt trails back in the 80s. One day their bikes suddenly stalled out all at the same time. At that moment, they heard a scream coming from the distance that could not be human. And unlike any creature they've ever heard of before, the men dropped their dirt bikes and began running away. However, nothing was actually chasing them. Several men in the group were so scared they decided to go home as soon as their bikes were working again. A few of the men were brave enough to handle it, so they decided to stay behind. Unfortunately for them, they continued to hear the screaming and screeching for the rest of the night. The Pine Barrens is popular for people who ride motorcycles because the roads are long and straight, and it's rare to see any police officers who will pull you over for speeding. Biker bars are located every so many miles, so the men stopped in one of the biker bars to get a drink on their way home. They told the bartender the story, and he matter-of-factly said, that was the Jersey Devil, and we hear those sounds all the time around here. So, what I'd like to know is, what do you think? Is the Jersey Devil real? Did a woman named Mother Leeds actually give birth to an abomination? Or is this much like every urban legend? There is some bit of truth in the fact that maybe there was an abomination of a child that no one wanted to see? Or is this simply much like Crybaby Bridges and that local haunted house that everyone has? Is this a manifestation of so many people thinking that something in the Pine Barrens exists, that something finally has been created? So, is the Jersey Devil a tulpa or an egregore? That's my question to you. Let me know what you think. For a long time I believed in the Jersey Devil. Even though my coworker gave me that story, I still was kind of like, but I feel like the Pine Barrens are big enough and haven't been searched enough that there could be something out there. Maybe some kind of hidden creature. Maybe it's a Sasquatch. Maybe it could be anything. Just like the Amazon. Who knows what is lurking in the Amazon? We haven't gone to enough of the Amazon to even tell what's there. Giant anacondas could exist. Who knows? Maybe there's a whole hidden subsect of people. Maybe a whole hidden subsect of animals we have yet to discover. Just like the Pine Barrens, Amazon is miles and miles and miles of dense forest and jungle that just cannot be searched thoroughly enough. Maybe one day we'll see it, maybe one day we'll get there, but until then, let me know what you think. Is the Jersey Devil real? Or are we manifesting something that we truly want to be there? Let's talk about Frank Castlioni Jr., the son of World War I veteran Frank Castlioni Sr., living in the Bronx. After his mother Ruth died from cancer, Frank lives through the difficulty of being an Italian Jewish boy in Prohibition-era New York City, which resulted in him joining with a child gang, much to his father's disapproval. And then in 1928, Jewish mob boss Dutch Schultz sent two of his men to seek protection money from the Castlioni store. But Frank Jr. and Sr. fought them off, which earned them the anonymity of Schultz. Frank Sr. trained his son in preparation for the troubles ahead. One night, Frank Jr. was with his gang when they were planning to break into a church and steal its donation money. Knowing it to be a crime against what he stood for, Frank left his gang for good, but not before punching one of his former friends for insulting his morality and Jewish background. Upon returning home, Frank discovered his father dead, the victim of Schultz's assassins. The death of his father drove Frank Jr. to avenge his death years later as the Punisher, named after a pulp fiction hero from a radio show who targeted criminals, in which he always had an interest. By 1935, Frank, as the Punisher, terrorized Schultz's organization, leaving many of his gang members dead in his wake. Along his crusade, the Punisher went after his father's killers, the likes of Jigsaw, Barracuda, and the Russian. Frank then had a conundrum. Did he decide to continue to punish other criminals, or was it time to give it a rest? His questions were answered while reading a Daily Bugle article on Adolf Hitler and Nazi Germany, suggesting that Frank will carry out his justice in Germany and presumably enter World War II as a soldier, just like his father. Powers and abilities. His abilities, trained by his father, proficient in war tactics, firearms and grenades, and knowledge of the Italian Jewish mobs. Physical strength, gym training. Weapons, an M1 Thompson, a Luger M42, and a Colt M1911. His transportation, he uses public buses and trolley cars. You can find... That's right, we're continuing our Noir series with Punisher Noir. A fantastic series. Absolutely wonderful. I love this series. It, just like Wolverine, it's gritty, it's awesome, It's brutal, just beautiful, beautiful artwork, just fantastic. Featuring the talent of Frank Thierry, Paul Azaceta, and Antonio Fuso. I highly recommend tracking down the Punisher Noir series. You can find it on Amazon, Mercari, and pretty much anywhere you look for used books online. They're usually floating around out there. I can't recommend this series enough. If you track down the Wolverine Noir series and you enjoyed that, and you are a big Punisher fan, or you were just enjoying the 1930s aspect of things, check this out. Worth it. 5 Punisher skulls out of 5. Check it out. Let me know what you think.
And for our final segment of today's episode, I'm introducing a brand new segment called Horrible Retail Stories of the Week. Bum, bum, bum. In which I track down horrible retail stories, or I share my own stories of my horrible retail past I have had. So, today's story is going to be from yours truly. So let me preface this by, I used to work at Walmart, as you do. And at Walmart, I was a service writer, service technician, cashier, stocker, and whatever else they needed. And that wasn't all different positions and different times. That was all at one time. And there was a point where we were so short-staffed in the service bays that we could only be open certain hours of the day, and we had to shut down for lunch because we could not keep it going the time they wanted us to, which apparently was against company policy. That's a whole nother story for another day. But so it was my lucky day to be service writing that day, and it was a Sunday, and Sundays are the busiest day for Walmart Lube Tech Express. For Lube and Tire Express. So, we are shutting down for lunch. I'm turning people away. They're all getting pissed. This is, I think, normally Sundays we worked 9 to 6, and I think between 1 and 2, we took, it would be 9 to 10. Between 1 and 2, we would take our lunch break. And so people are getting pissed, and I have one guy that comes in, bursts in the door. He sees we're closing all our bay doors, and he's like, "What the hell's going on?" I said, "Well, sir, unfortunately, due to short staffing, we have to close down for lunch." He goes, "Well, my wife is in the hospital, and I have a flat tire, and I need to get there now." I said, "Well, I'm sorry. I understand it's an emergency, but there's nothing we can do. We've been told we have to shut down." He's like, "I will come back here, and I will fucking shoot you." I looked him straight in the eye, and this is after probably 3 years of doing all this Walmart bullshit. I looked him straight in the eye, and I went, "Sir, I work at Walmart. You'd be doing me a fucking favor." And I just stared him in the eyes, and he slowly backed away and walked out of the building with this just perplexed, shocked look on his face. I can't tell you how many times my life had been threatened at that job. I've got some doozies for you. Holy hell. You know what? I'll share another one. Not only did I also have to do all the other stuff I mentioned, I also had to cover sporting goods once in a while, which meant unlocking the ammo case and doing hunting licenses and such. And there was a limit of 2 boxes of ammo per customer per day on certain ammunition. And I believe it was 22s and 9mm. And I had a customer come in, and he wanted 6 boxes of 9mm and 8 boxes of 22s. And we had a printed out sign that explained the policy. And I said, "Sir, you can only get 2 boxes of 9mm or 2 boxes of 22. which he took as 2 boxes of 9mm and 2 boxes of 22. And when he said, okay, well, I'll just take those 4, I said, no, sir, you don't understand. It's just 2 boxes of 9mm or just 2 boxes of 22. And he starts hemming and hawing, and I said, sorry, this is what we've been told we have to limit it to. And he's starting to get pissed, and he says, all right, well, just give me the 2 boxes of 9mm, you fucking asshole. So I do that. He walks away. I go back to my where I'm at for service writing, and then I get a page, and it says customer needs help in sporting goods at the ammunition counter. And I walk back up, and oh boy, it's you know who. And he goes, oh shit. And I said, what? He says, I was hoping to get someone else because I was going to get my 22s. I said, well, sorry, that doesn't work that way. And he proceeds to grab the nearest item and start pounding on the ammunition case, almost breaking the glass. And I'm just standing there watching this guy, and customers are looking at me, and I'm like, I ain't doing shit. I don't get paid enough to mess with this motherfucker. He is losing his absolute mind, trying to get into the case to get all the ammunition. Finally, I'm like, sir, either get the fuck out of the store or I'm calling the police. He looks at me, he says, call the goddamn police. So I start dialing 911. And then my manager comes running over and asks what happened, and I told him, and then guy just all of a sudden takes off running. I was like, I looked at my manager, and I said, you deal with it. And I walked back to service writing. I literally punched out for the day and just left. They were so pissed at me. I didn't care. I hated working that job. But that is my retail horror stories of the week. I'll have more. I don't know if this is going to be a weekly segment or this is just going to be a once in a while thing. It's kind of a fun thing that I think might add a little levity and some humor in your day. But that is it for today's episode. I thank you so much for listening. I really hope these episodes are coming out a bit better than season 1. I'm trying my best. Please bear with me. I'm hoping that within the next few months I'll be able to get some better equipment, some better material, and some better things to talk about. Thank you all again so much for tuning in, and I will see you all next week.